Hello and welcome to another episode of Earth911 Sustainability in Your Ear. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe, your host, and we're back to talk this time about LastObject's new LastPad, reusable menstrual pad. We're really fortunate to be joined today by Isabel Aagaard, who is the co-founder of LastPad. And you know, I've been a happy owner of a LastObject Last Swab, an ear cleaner, for more than a year. It's quick and easy in cleaning my ears, just like the old cotton swabs, but without any of the waste. You reuse this swab over and over. LastObject is launching the LastPad, which is made to be reused, washed and reused up to 240 times. Single-use menstrual pads are a huge source of waste, representing a large share of the ocean waste and producing billions of loose plastic wrappers, coated paper, and the pads themselves every year. The LastPad comes in 3 sizes, including panty liners and overnight pads, and the inner layer is made from bamboo, while the outer is made with polyester. LastObject launched the LastPad through Kickstarter, and you can find out more about that at lastpad.backerkit. BackerKit is one word. lastpad.backerkit.com. The LastObject project has already won 46,000 backers. That's an interesting way for an established company to launch a product, and we'll talk a little about that. You can also learn more about LastObject and the many reusable alternatives to single-use products they make at lastobject.com. LastObject's one word. Welcome to the show, Isabel. How are you today?
I'm good, and thank you for having me on.
Well, hey, first, congratulations on building a wide range of alternatives to single-use products. Now, with regard to the menstrual pads you're launching, it's ironic that women used to reuse menstrual products before we invented the disposable pad. We made the problem you're solving. How big is the waste problem in the modern menstrual industry?
It is huge, and you pointed very well at it in the beginning in your intro that, it is 9 billion single-use female hygiene products that are thrown out each year, and this is only in the US, but it's not only the single-use items, it's also all of the packaging, it's all the shipping, it's all of the production. It's like there's a whole row of not necessary waste and energy consumption and resource consumption that we're actually creating by using single-use products.
Yeah, you know, we talk about the product themselves, but the carbon footprint of the entire supply chain around this is massive. Now, how long did it take you to develop the LastPad, and what did you learn from the past when women were using linen pads and washing them?
Yes. Well, LastObject, our company, has been around for about 3 years, and we have more or less actually started working on LastPad like in the very first months of us establishing our company, because we knew that this was a huge issue, and it really did have a huge strain on the environment. So this product has actually been the one that we've been working on for the longest. It's been 2+ years that we've been back and forth with different materials, different forms, different ways of solving this issue, and trying to make a reusable version that is comfortable, that is innovative, and that really like makes it something that you would, as a woman, keep and have and use for a long time, which is our mission.
So what are the advantages of the materials you chose to use, including bamboo and polyester for the various components?
Yes, the materials were one of the biggest issues and obstacles that we were dealing with, because we were looking at what had the minimum impact on the environment, and we wanted to really choose the fabric that environmentally was the best. And we, of course, looked at organic cotton. We use that in other products, but here in this instance, in this product, we actually ended up using polyester because it had a lower impact on the environment, because it does just withhold a longer time of use. Mm-hmm. So the polyester layer in the front and the back of the pad are chosen to first of all be sure that it really withholds a lot of uses, but also that it is antibacterial, that will make sure that there are no like fungus that can grow. And what we found, because women have been using linen pads and washed them in organic cotton pads, or at least cotton pads, The problem is that cotton is just like, it really, really manifests a lot of bacteria and fungus. So, and when we have it in such a delicate place in on our body for such a long period of time, it's really important that we chose a fabric that would minimize the growth of these bacteria. So, so that's why we used, or we ended up using these materials.
So how many pads come in when you purchase the product? Do you get multiple pads, or do you need to buy multiple pads separately?
We have, in the Kickstarter, we had a minimum of 3.
Okay.
And I'm not, I was talking a couple of days with our e-com team, like what we're going to do when we put it on our website, and also when we get it out in retail. I think we're still going to do some kind of pack solution. I also want people to be able to choose if they want 5, if they want 3, if they want 1 extra, and also because we're doing different things with coloring. But I think that it's really important that you also know that, of course, like 1 pad would not be sufficient for a cycle. So I always recommend at least 9.
At least 9. Okay, because I had to have this conversation with my daughter in order to understand all the questions I should ask. So that was one of her key questions, is how many come in a pack. Now, are the LastPads good for a full cycle, or do you recommend combining them, for instance, with a Diva cup on a heavier day?
And that's such a good question, because it's very, very different from person to person. I did this like whole test period when we had the first samples of the pad, and with a lot of my friends and family and different ages and it was very, very clear for me that people have a lot of different ways of doing this. I myself personally love the cup, and I use that on my heavy days, and then I use the pad on the beginning and the last, and also just as a safety sometimes. So I think that that's what works for me. I also had people that were testing the pad that had it for a whole cycle. They only use pads. That's like, they don't like to put anything up, and that also works. Like that's why we also did the larger version, so that you have that option. But it's very much up to the individual, what they feel and what they're used to. But I see that a lot of our customers are definitely like a full cycle kind of girls. But I think that we'll start slowly also to see that a lot of combinated ideas, or like a lot of combination with different products will be sufficient.
Each their own, and it's great that you're allowing people to make a choice. Now, another question is, what do you do with a used LastPad when you're away from home? Tell us about the case that comes with it.
So we wanted to do it very discreetly, so that you could have a pad with you in a pouch, that you go to the bathroom and then you change it out, and then you put the dirty pad into the pouch that you came into the bathroom with, and you're having the clean on.
What is the pouch made of? That was the other question that my daughter asked.
It's the same material as actually the back of the pad. So it's water resistant.
Okay.
So it won't leak. So you can have a full, like very full dirty pad in it and put it in your bag, and it won't leak. There will come no odors out of it. It's very sealing in that sense.
So how do you recommend that customers wash the LastPad? Does it require a hot wash? Should it be washed separately? And did you take into account the environmental impact of washing as you design the product?
Yes, we did. And with the pad, and actually when you're cleaning blood out of anything, if that would be sheets or clothes, you always should wash it at low degrees, because blood sets at high degrees. So we always recommend that you wash the pads like everything else in cold washes, so that you get the blood stains out and the blood in general out of the pads. And then you can always, after, like, I don't know, every 3 months, if you want to, you can put them all in a hot wash. So if you feel that is better for you, or the bacteria, you feel that the bacteria is like gone from the pads. But I personally only wash it in cold wash, and it's been working really well. And we've been testing a lot of different wash theories, but actually it comes down to, like, cold wash is actually perfect, and the environment and the balance that you also have in your lower parts are perfectly held in that environment. They are clean.
So the other question I want to ask goes to recyclability. The LastPad has Velcro wings. Can that be recycled at the end of life?
Well, I think our pad in general is combined of a lot of different materials because we have elastics around or some of the places on the pad. We have actually also a strip of silicone, and then you have inside bamboo, and then you have polyester and polyester. Like it's a lot of like parts that you have to take apart to recycle it in that sense. And for us, the most important thing, and when you also look at the environmental impact that these products have, the most important thing for us is that it just is going to withhold a lot of uses, and that it's designed so well that people actually love it, and they think they feel that it's comfortable. It works for their everyday life. And so for me, it's always been about how can I make this product be part of your life, part of your lifestyle, and how can I make sure that it really withholds a lot of washes, a lot of use, and then at the end, it actually doesn't have that big of an impact. Also, being such a little product, so the recyclability of it was not as important as it is, for example, with other products.
Okay, I think that's fair. But have you considered, for instance, doing a recycling program in order to because these complex products are really a challenge to recycle? Maybe a partnership with TerraCycle or somebody like that who specializes in disassembling products into recyclable components?
Definitely. And I'd love to do a partnership like that. It just has to be local for it to actually have an impact, because a lot of people, they think about these like take back options that you have where you like send your product, across the Atlantic to be discarded, and all just in the shipping, it doesn't make sense then if
Right.
you look at the big scale of it. So, but yes, if you can do with TerraCycle, of course, there's a really good example. If you can do local recycling and assembling, then definitely that would be possible. Like all of our products are quite clean in that sense.
So I want to switch tracks a little bit here and ask, how do you all sit down and look across the spectrum of all of the single-use stuff that we use, and pick out what to work on? What's the trick to having insight into how to create a reusable version of something that's made to be thrown away?
It's a process. It's a really fun process.
Awesome.
When we founded the company, we really actually did a long list of single-use items, and then we started to look at what were really big killers for the environment. And that's why actually we started out with the cotton swab. It's so little actually an item, so you wouldn't really feel that it was actually had that big of an impact on the environment, but it really does when you look at the numbers and when you look at the pollution, especially in the ocean, and how it's being taken care of. We realized that was actually a huge problem. And then we also look at what has already been solved. So, for example, I would never design a straw. You can see there are a million different options for having reusable straws. They can be taken apart. They can, they're making a metal, glass, silicone. They're doing all these different, and that's amazing. That's great. I want to go in and see if I can solve something that has a big impact, but that also nobody else has solved in the right way, or not a way that I feel is sufficient.
Well, so how do you identify what products you want to tackle next? What areas of everyday life are you considering today as candidates for redesign as a reusable product?
Something that we use every day, something that we use a lot of. There are a lot of different parameters, but I really feel that creating reusable alternatives, we really also have to solve the reusability and the design itself in the object. So, for example, I can have a wish to, for example, make a new diaper. I want to do a reusable diaper, but I'm not going to release a new diaper before I really figured out how to actually solve that issue in a way that not just 1% of the world will start using, but something that a broad audience of people will use, because it's convenient, because it's easy, because it's hygienic, because it's all of these different things that we as modern people need for us to take these products in. So Last Swap, for example, was really a great design, because it's something that it is a little icky, like the idea of it, but as soon as you start using it, you've obviously also had that experience, is that no, it's actually quite easy. You're cleaning and you clean that and then you put it back in the case and then you put it away. It's an easy switch for you. And our products need to be an easy switch. It shouldn't come with a manual about how to use it, how to wash it, and how to, maybe a little bit washing, but like it shouldn't be too complex. And that's very important for us. So when I really solved the design, when I really solved a reusable alternative to a single-use product, that is when we start looking at, okay, should we launch this? In what way?
Now, you were telling me just before we started this conversation that you were discontinuing the last mask, the pandemic mask that you introduced, because so many other options are out there now. And you also mentioned straws. As you continue to evolve your company, do you see yourself as pioneering these areas? But once they are pioneered, you're going to see a lot of competition. How do you retain your advantage? Is it by simply just making a better product and being more engaged with your consumers? Or is there another level of marketing sophistication that you're trying to apply?
We're three designers that founded the company. So I think that we're very focused on our design. And for example, last round, our reusable cotton rounds, that you can already now, before we even made it, there were a lot of different alternatives to it. But I just felt that with the materials that we found and in the casing and the use of it, we solved better than other companies. And that's where I felt like we had like an angle. But I do see more and more, and that's amazing. Like I don't want to be alone in this space. I think it's great that we're seeing all of these different companies and all of these different initiatives to start living in a green way. Like we're a company, of course, and we want to sell our products, but like the whole goal of this company was to make a difference. And if that difference also is inspiring others to also try to make products that make a difference, I think that's also just amazing. So we're not so closed-minded about like, we just need to have this company. It has to become, a million, a trillion. It's not like that. We just really want to make a difference. And there are also a lot of room for the room for competition. It just makes us a little bit sharper then.
Well, I think one of the most interesting things about the way you introduce products is that you go to Kickstarter, to these crowdfunding environments, but that requires a lot of dialogue with consumers. And as designers, it's clear that you're integrating their feedback even after you've made the initial design, you're listening to your customers. Tell us why Kickstarter or crowdfunding generally is the right way to introduce a product these days. Is it less expensive? Do you recommend it for other entrepreneurs who are starting to do green products?
Definitely. I can definitely recommend it. The reason why we do it, and the reason why we did it in the beginning and also still are doing it now, even though we're very, as you say, established company, is the validation. Sometimes, like as a designer, you can kind of sit in your little ivory tower and be like, oh my God, this is an amazing design. Like everybody's going to love it. And then you get it out and people are like, no, not really for me. Or like, I'm not going to pay that price. Or so Kickstarter is a great way of like trying to like, okay, I have this design and then explain like what it can do, how it can do. You learn a lot in that process too, making a Kickstarter film, making the whole page, like explaining your product. And so that is also a lot of feedback that you're getting just in that. But when you then, publish it, you launched your product, then you can actually see is there actually, a customer group that would want this product? Could this become a success? So it's a really good like touch and feel, like, should we continue going down this road? I've done also before a lot of Kickstarter that weren't successful. And I'm so happy that I actually did the Kickstarter so I can kind of close that project down and not produce 1,000 of this that I can't sell and that therefore is waste. So it's a green way also to kind of get into to different businesses or get your products out to different customers. And so the validation part is very, very big, but there's also a huge community. And this surprised me. This wasn't like when we started the first campaign that was really successful. I was amazed by like the responses and also like the way that people wanted to interact with the company and with us and in the design phase, we changed so many things in the design, listening to people and listening to what they wanted. We started naming the colors of our brands different, endangered species. It was all these like the little small quirky things. And it was also the beauty swab, and our fourth product, which was a tissue box that was actually requested by an earlier campaign. Like, you have to make it in a bigger size, like so that we can have it at home. We were like, what? Like, we're in Denmark, we don't have tissue boxes. But then we were like, okay, but we have all these people that are talking about tissue boxes, and this is now my favorite product, and I have one in every corner of my house. So we listen a lot to our customers, and I think it's amazing. And we still do that. Also with reviews, we've changed our first product, I think 5 times, just like small tweaks, but that improved the quality. And now we have a much stronger product than we actually had launched 3 years ago.
So you're describing an era in which co-design is more effective than the kind of design, put it in the market and then see what happens approach. That's also a great way for us to rapidly innovate in response to all the challenges we're seeing in the environment. So really, congratulations on having pioneered that too. Let me ask, after 19 months into the pandemic, what are your most popular products these days?
Our most popular products are still actually Last Swap Basic. So the one that you're using. That is
I don't use the makeup one. That's true.
Exactly. That's really, really popular. It's also because it's kind of been our pioneer, and we've used a lot of energy on marketing on that exact product. So I think we're going to see a shift here the next couple of months. But last round, our cotton rounds are also very popular. And we actually just did an LCA report. We're doing these reports that another company, where they go in, they look at our products, and then they figure out like how is this actually environmental. And we don't have the final report for it. We have the final report for Last Swap, but last round looks like it's 25% or 25 times better than I thought it was for the environment. So I'm so excited about that problem.
You're raising an interesting point, because we hear from a lot of early stage companies that want to talk about their products, but they don't have those life cycle analyses. They're sort of asking everybody to take the environmental benefits on faith. Do you feel that needs to be done within the first 6 months of product launch? Is that something that consumers should expect to see before they purchase something?
I think that it would have been hard for us to do it because we didn't have the funding, and we didn't have the focus either, because we knew what was right and what was wrong, and we knew we had a good product. We knew it was, and we put the bar a little low, saying 1,000. Now we know that it's so much more. It's actually so much better. But I think it's important at some stage, at least in the first 2 years, I would say, just because of startup culture, and there are a lot of things that you have to take into consideration. So I don't want to stress people about it, but I do see people taking it very seriously, and they should. Anybody can go out and be like, this is the world's best pizza, and not a lot of people can actually sit and actually get these reports done and see the huge difference that these products are actually doing, and having these professionals go in and analyzing all of the different aspects. But it's also a really long process. We've been in it for over a year now. It's a really big process of getting your actually quite simple products through the system.
First, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us and doing that extra work that you're describing, because I think too many companies at this point are still selling on faith rather than on actual data. How can listeners learn more about and maybe get a deal on LastPad?
Yes. So right now we just closed our Kickstarter campaign, and we're on, as you mentioned, I don't remember the website name now, but you mentioned it was on. Perfect. yeah, so you can get LastPad there, and then we'll hopefully be able to deliver here in February, and then we'll have it on our shop and also in all of the shops, hopefully, that we already are in now around the world. So you can kind of get close to our actual product. But everything that we do and everything that we create is sold on LastObject.com.
Great. Well, Isabel, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today.
Thank you for having me.
We've been talking with Isabel Aagaard. She's the co-founder of LastObject. LastObject just released the LastPad. Check it out. You can find that at LastObject.com starting in January or February. If you want to check out the Kickstarter campaign, which just closed, that's at lastpad.backerkit.com. And then there's a / hosted_pre-orders. We'll have that link in the article, folks, so you can find it easily. I hope you'll take a few minutes to share this podcast and others from Earth911 with your friends, family, coworkers, people you meet on the street. Let's spread these ideas. Let's get people talking about intelligent design of our products. Let's think through what we're making and how we're going to be able to reuse it rather than simply designing to throw stuff away. This is Earth911, Sustainability in Your Ear. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe. We'll be back soon with another interview. In the meantime, folks, take care of yourselves, take care of one another, and let's all take care of this beautiful planet of ours. Have a green day.